Our next speaker, Tom Christensen, is sick, so he's not coming. He will not be up on stage. But fortunately, we have Luigi a little earlier. His voice is also a little bit, CeBIT sickness. As you all know, you get a cough and everything after a while. But his voice is still good. He just told me, and he's gonna have or hold his next speech. It's gonna be dizmo storytelling delivered, the smart way to present, collaborate, and better engage your audience, which will be a good thing because audience is kind of slow and shy this morning. So maybe you can bring some more people here, and I hope your voice will hold until the very end of your talk. So welcome with me on stage, Luigi, from the co-founder and chief marketing officer from dizmo. The stage is yours.
Hello, does that work? You hear me? Yes, you do. All right. Good morning. Sorry if my voice maybe will at some point in time maybe just fade away or get down. It's not my first talk this week, and as you all guys have been doing, certainly talking to customers and people. So, but that's CeBIT, and that's why we like it. dizmo is a new class of user interface software. We call it the interface of things, and it also introduces a concept, a new concept of smart visualization. And so here today we're talking about smart visualization and its use in the age of the Internet of Things, or the age of ubiquity, as we say, and in particular for the segment of, sorry, this one is going, can we go back? Yes. In the field of presentation and collaboration. And why in particular for presentation and collaboration? What this is really about is about walking the talk, right? We're talking about digital transformation. Everyone talks is the theme of digital transformation. But actually, we're doing that most of the time. So we're talking about the future using the technologies of yesterday. And in fact, this is what I am doing still today with you. I'm using a PowerPoint presentation. I'm going through slides. And I could have done the same. Probably, actually, I was doing the same 15 years ago. And so there's something wrong in that. There's a need of a revolution, not an evolution, in this space. And this is what we contribute doing. Now, if you are familiar with futuristic user interfaces, as the one that you see in movies like Minority Report, which again is from 15 years ago, then pretty much you know already everything about what I'm talking. Still, you might say, why is this relevant to the age of the Internet of Things? Well, if you think about what happened over the last 15 years and all the technologies that we since then saw appearing, there is a great opportunity for actually doing a much smarter creation of things. There's an opportunity for a much easier sharing, and there's an opportunity for engaging audiences in a much better way. And we will get back to that point later. For a live view and demonstration of our technology, you can just walk a couple of blocks and visit us. We still have 1.5 days in which you can see our technology. So what is the problem that we solve? I said before, basically we are contributing to walk the talk of digital transformation and enable a new process for presentation and collaboration in this new age of the Internet of Things and of ubiquity, as we like to call it. Now, the age of ubiquity or Internet of Things, let's give a little view of it in terms of numbers. And I like a lot, people talk about 2020, 2030, and give you numbers about what is going to happen. I like actually to talk about what happened, this is real fact. 2015, 4.3 new billion, 4.3 billion of new objects, excluding PCs and laptops, have been connected up. This is a huge number, and we'll see in a minute. In a minute, what we can do with it. Still, numbers, impressive numbers. In 2015, every day, we have collectively produced 2.5 quintillion bytes of data. Now, this is a power 18. I'm sure you know that. I didn't. And maybe some of you, and I hear that a lot, some people say, well, most of that is useless data. How much of that we have created in these last few days here at CeBIT. Well, I don't think, and I think many people agree, that those are useless data. Those are unused data. The number of people sitting in this chair, if those chairs are connected, the traffic coming in CeBIT this morning, all this information, if brought up in a relevant way to people, if shared across people, can bring a very good insights that can be used, can be finally even monetized. Now, some additional facts that we have to consider, which are very relevant, again, also to this new world of collaboration and presentation of things. 90% of the data that we're talking about are, in fact, unstructured. So very difficult to manage them, to make them relevant, to collect, present, filter them out. They come from multiple data channels. They have of different types and come from different data channels. So how do we make them available on a unified workspace to people? Let's talk about the always-on audience. What we mean by that is that, in the old days, when we were in a meeting or as you are in front of a stage, you had only two choices, right? You either follow or you fall asleep. And in fact, nowadays, if you go more than 2 or 3 people, most of them are going to go in and engage into conversation through Facebook, or they will be tweeting, or they will receive notifications. I don't know how many you are receiving at the moment, but I see some of you are engaging on some other channels. Now, if I was able to engage you through those channels that you're using through my presentation, you would be closer to me and you were following me better. And you would actually give to me rather than eventually only me toward you. Object control. This is a great opportunity. There's a lot of lighting here, funny things that I could control throughout my presentation, or I could let you control in a unified space if that unified space allows you to connect up with the things I have or that we have around us. And this is all possible nowadays. Let me be more specific then. Let's get into the real part of the story. Those are 3 pillars that we think are fundamental moving forward in any of the collaboration spaces and presentation spaces. Having the ability to take data real time. We saw how much data there is around. Let's use it real time. This is a real-time society nowadays, so let's have also that in our meeting and collaboration. Take the information as it comes, real time. Again, data come from multiple channels. They are of different types. How do I make them available on one unified space, which is the same space I'm using to present? Non-linear. This is a linear presentation, right? I'm going through the steps that I decided to go through. If I was able to engage with you in a more interactive way, and I had the possibility to have an infinite space in which I had multiple threads, we could jump from one to another, depending on your interest, depending on your feedback. So non-linearity is an essential part of this type of things moving forward. We won't have stages like this in the future. We will have different stages, I can guarantee. Unbounded, talking about just before, the type of data that we get and that we want to use, the type of devices that we use. We don't know whether we will stand in front of a laser projected screen or or whatever other device, and we have to be able to deal with that all day long. Sorry, just 1 second. This is a short. I wasn't sure about my voice, so in any case, this is an interesting video that I have that shows a team that works on a specific project, which is about making a new cover for a cover page for a book. And throughout this 2 minutes video, you will see them collaborating, presenting across the team with the client, client, using our technology. And you will have some hints about all the things I was talking about before of dealing with data in a fundamental different way, engaging with your audience in a fundamental different way. And then we will take 2 or 3 scenes of that and walk through them a little bit more. So enjoy no more than 1.5 minutes.
It's called Attack of the Quasar Beast. It's a science fiction story about Earth being attacked by a cat-like cyborg predator from another dimension. Now, we'll need to present a cover design to the publisher next Friday.
This is what we came up with.
You know, this is great. But I'm thinking that we should be drawing more inspiration from what's popular on the internet right now. Less lion, more cat video.
Ladies and gentlemen, Attack of the Quasar Beast.
It's perfect.
Now, hope you liked it. It's, of course, is a video, and as any video production, there are some things which are, you would probably think, post-produced. In reality, you come over to our stand, and I will show each and any of those things happening real. So all of what you saw is real, is possible now. A couple of examples. You saw in the video playing on a touch table and having some YouTube videos and do some statistics. This is an example of real-time type of activity that you perform while collaborating with people. You can do that presenting, so you can have real feed coming and do some analysis, statistics based on the result, then jump over the subject that is of the highest interest. There was a scene in which they were presenting to their boss before to go and present to the client. It was a quite dramatic example of non-linearity. They were showing something. The person they were presenting to was connected up with the same system, which is really a no-brainer in our system, and it was interacting with them. So based on that, they would have to then continue the discussion on another basis, not on the basis of what they had thought, to go in a rather linear way. The example of them working on a touch table, mixing and matching all sorts of different type of datas, and play with them and making decisions and be creative with that. So it's, again, a combination. There's also an idea of presenting or collaborating. We are going to present and collaborate more and more in the future, because this is what now the technology allows us to do. This is what humans like to do. And this is, again, all made possible by our user interface. And in particular, it's the level of interactivity that the technology allows. I'm going to give you another couple of examples, and those are little animation that I just took, on our stand, uh, just as screenshots, screencast. So in this case, you see a browser window, a web browser that is on the white space. We are actually going through it, selecting one page is the CeBIT page, and then you see there are objects, digital objects. These are simple HTML5 digital objects that just by being docked, as we call it, with the other objects, then they produce an action. So you can, think about educational structure, think about board meetings. You have a data you are looking at, you taking digital objects that perform function, and then provide then to people additional information on the spot. A QR code, a word map in this case that analyzes the content of the website in this case. Another example, you see some presentation tools that just allow to go in a dynamic way. So zooming is not a new thing, but here we're not zooming into just images. We are zooming into data. We're drilling the data. We're walking the data up and down. So once that you have performed an action of zooming into one of the elements, you can further go down and walk up and down in the data. So you're touching the data. It's the relationship with data that changes. We're not staring at data. We are interacting with data as much as we want. We do that through digital objects in a unified space. There's a concept of what we call parenting that allows to create new digital objects on the spot. Create in terms of putting them on the space, on the white space, and exchanging them with your audience. So in this case, to visualize that, I'm using one particular digital object that we use to go through the selection of digital objects that we have. And it's an example of an object that itself creates other objects. This element that you see there is itself an HTML5 digital object, few lines of code, in fact, and it creates additional elements. We're going to go through and add a clock, and then a calculator, and if you are, random items. But the important idea is that you can, based on the context, call up new stuff in real time, in a totally non-linear way, depending on what people would like to see, what people would like to talk about. And all of a sudden, you have a completely new way of engaging with your customers and with your partners. And we ourselves, we walk the talk of that. That's the way we work with our customers. Last but not least, the concept of sharing. Any of the digital objects which we allow to be in the workspace, and we allow any digital objects, any type of data, can be shared. It can be shared in real time, and this is what actually I'm doing here in this little animation. If it goes. It didn't. So stuck. So any of these elements, basically what you can do in the software, in the user interface, is that you can decide to real-time share any of the objects with any of the people that you are in contact with, which means any of the users, anyone who has a user ID and is logged in. You can also share your collection of digital objects with anyone in an asynchronous way. So you're saving your space, you're giving access. Think about things you're familiar with, the Dropbox, OneDrive type, but with merging capabilities. So if I share this space, if any of you this afternoon goes into our software, takes a dizmo ID, downloads the software and runs it, I can share that space with him. He will take it, modify, I can modify, he can modify, and when we go and save it, we'll actually see that we have the option of saving what we have done, what the other one has done, on an individual basis of dizmo, digital object by digital object, or taking options like I want to take mine or the other person one, the latest one, and I can do that on an individual basis or on a global basis on all the digital objects that I have. if you're rather confused about all what I've been talking about, that is what comes with bad presentations or what comes with disruption. If you want to understand more and really touch it with your hands, come and see us a couple of blocks away, D30, Swiss Pavilion. You said Switzerland is a partner country. And that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
Yes, please.
I do have one.
Yes.
When your clients contact you, what's their biggest challenge to begin with?
In which sense?
Well, when they contact you and say,
All
like,
right.
we want to solve a problem here, what's their challenge most of the time?
Well, in fact, their challenge. Well, it's exactly what I was talking about before. Is walking the talk of digital disruption. You guys at CeBIT are talking about digital disruption, right? Most people nowadays talk with their customers, share ideas with their customers, show their products with customers about digital disruption. Most of the time, they do that with yesterday's technology. And it just doesn't work. The second one that comes is the one I was talking about before, those 2.5 quintillion bytes that we have created in 2015 every day. How do we make sense of data? How do we monetize this? But first of all, how do we make sense of data? And nowadays, data, this is a sort of democratization of IoT. How do you make data relevant to a city council member, to a farmer, to a student? They're not the data scientists. Big data, and IoT is a big data thing. But IoT is not meant to be for data scientists. It's meant to be to people. Otherwise, you will fail, because to be for people, it has to be a service that people appreciate. And to appreciate a service, you cannot go through thousands of options in a monolithic application that gives you all possible choices in a menu, 90% of which are meaningless for you, and you can't even understand how to configure that. So how do you make that possible?
What's going to be the next big challenge? Or what's the one that you want to tackle, like next year or in 2 years from now?
Well, yeah. Well, I think it's really the meeting the expectation. This is why we are so keen on what we're doing. It's to meet the promise of IoT. Whoever has been in the Internet of Things has been in the business for 20 plus years, has heard about Internet of Things for many, many years. Some people say it's a new thing. It's not a new thing at all. So it's to match the promise of IoT. That's the challenge. That's the thing that everyone is up to, I think.
Well, I think that's a very nice last word, and I think this is what we've been wondering around for all day, is trying to figure out how do we make sense of Internet of Things. We've now been hearing so much about it, but where is it and how does it work and how can it actually help us?
True.
And I think we need to start playing more with it to actually figure out which options it
Right,
has.
absolutely.
Thank you very much for your talk, Luigi.
Thank
A
you.
warm hand. Hey,
Thank you.
wake up.